The Last of the 20, Book 2, The Quest, by J.N. Wdowski. Chapter 9, Crossroads. As the sun rose, so did they. They quickly repacked the mule with their beddings, grabbed nature bars for breakfast, and headed out. Before leaving, Nathan noticed a table near the front door. Upon the table was a pile of faded, glossy brochures covered in dust. Next to the brochures was a coffee mug. The mug was out of place in the 18th century building with period furniture and household goods. Nathan stopped to pick up the mug. He dusted it off. It was actually in very good condition. On one side of the mug was a copy of the painting of Washington kneeling in the snow, praying next to his horse. On the opposite side of the mug it read Washington Headquarters Museum, Morristown, New Jersey. "What is this?" Nathan asked his father. "A coffee mug." "It is a souvenir," added 124. The mule said nothing. It just stood waiting with its packs on its back. A souvenir? Nathan had not learned the concept before. A keepsake, a trinket people would hold on to remember a time or a place. This was clearly sold in the museum for visitors to have something to remind them of their visit here, or to give as a gift to someone back home. 124 explained. Nathan turned the cup over and read it out loud. "Made in China." "That's ironic." Miller responded. "Can I keep it?" "I don't see why not. Put it on the mule for safekeeping." Miller opened the door, letting the sunshine pour into the entranceway. "I will. A keepsake, a memento of our travels together." Nathan walked up to the mule and found a place for it. He then followed his father out of the building. "Just don't make picking up souvenirs into too much of a habit. It is best we travel as light as possible." His father reminded him, "We are not tourists. We have a mission." "I understand, Pop. I won't." 5 hours later. They had traveled 12.5 miles south along Interstate 287. They were not far from where Route 202 intersected. The highway navigated over rolling hills. Dense woods of oak, maple, hickory, and beech created partial canopies shading both sides of the thruway. Above them, a pair of bald eagles circled and glided as they searched for prey. The woods on both sides were filled with even more white-tailed deer, turkeys, and elk. "More of the nice part." Miller smiled at Nathan. Nathan returned his father's smile. "Yes, Pop, it is. It reminds me of home, minus the elk, that is." "Miller," 124 interrupted. Miller kept walking. "Yes? I am picking several nests south of our position." "Several?" "Bridgewater has 2 nests, about 100 in each nest. I am also picking up 4 more nests outside the ruins. The first nest, of 15, is 6 miles southwest of Bridgewater. There is a nest of 18, 4 miles west of the ruins. Another group of 17 nested due west, 10 miles out, and there's a 4th larger nest of 36 Prune Faces, northwest of Bridgewater. That is a lot outside of the direct New York City area," Miller pointed out. "The oddest part is that none of the nests have females or children. They are all mature males." 124 added to his report. "Only adult males?" Miller questioned him. "That is what I said. Why would I say all mature males, if they were not all mature adult males?" "You wouldn't. 124, I meant no offense. I was merely thinking out loud." Miller apologized. "Can we detour around them?" "The only route is if we swing to the southeast." 124 responded, "But there are no direct roads that way. We would have to make our way through side streets and communities engulfed by Mother Nature. We would also be entering the feeding areas of the much larger nests to the east. If you want to reach Princeton as soon as possible, we need to stay on this highway. Bridgewater is a transportation hub. I-287, Route 202, Route 28, Route 22 all cut through it. More importantly, it is the start of Route 206 that will take us straight into Princeton." "Can we get through Bridgewater before sunset and find a defendable building on Route 206 to make camp?" Miller asked. "If you want to do a forced march." "A forced march?" Nathan asked. "Young Mr. Miller, we have been traveling at 2.5 miles an hour. To get through Bridgewater before sunset, we would need to increase our speed to at least 4 miles an hour, non-stop for the next 5 hours. I, your father, and the mule can easily do it. The question is, can you?" "It is nearly doubling our pace for the next 5 hours. his father added. Nathan slightly increased his steps to stay alongside his father. Why not just find a defendable location in Bridgewater? Perhaps we can sneak in and settle down for the night in a secure building, without them even knowing we are there. Perhaps they will just walk past us like the Prune Faces did in Morristown. Maybe I can do a forced march, but by the end of it I may be too tired for a firefight. Is there any guarantee we will not run into Prune Faces if we can pass through Bridgewater before nightfall? Nathan, nothing in life is guaranteed, his father responded before 124 could. My being exhausted after a forced march would be. I am not you, Pop. I may be too exhausted to defend our position, Nathan answered. He has a point. 124 agreed. 5 hours later, switching over to Route 202, they continued south. Miller decided that they would not do a forced march, and instead would find an area not in the downtown area of Bridgewater. On their right, off the highway, was a former New Jersey State Police station. It was nestled in the southwest corner of Route 202 and Route 22. Behind the barracks was a wooded area. In front, it had a large parking lot with rusting patrol cars partially surrounding the two-story building. It was across the highways from the basement nests of the Prune Faces in the city. The large parking lot gives us a clear field of fire. If they do discover us and head for us, it will be difficult for them to approach our position without cover. Sounds reasonable, 124 stated. Thank you for your approval. Miller looked to the west as the sun began to set. You are welcome, Miller. Even though Miller did not have them do a forced march, they were able to reach the second story of the state police station, just as the sun descended behind the western horizon. Trees blocked his clear view of Route 202 that traveled north to south and Route 22 that traveled west to east. The parking lot surrounding most of the building did give him a clear line of sight to the approach of the building. After darkness fell, 124 illuminated the room with his dimmed floodlight. They are awake. How many and how far out? Miller asked as he unloaded his bedroll from the mule and grabbed a piece of jerky. The two nests I mentioned are just across from us. The Bridgewater Commons is on the northeast corner of the intersection of the two highways. Bridgewater Commons? Nathan asked as he grabbed his sleeping bag and 2 jerky sticks. It was a large shopping mall. Shopping mall? Nathan was still confused. It is a massive building with indoor walking spaces that connect shoppers to dozens of shops, cinemas, restaurants, and anchor stores, Miller explained. Anchor stores? Larger retailers. That would be the main attraction for shoppers. Miller spread out his bedroll on the floor. Although I was told by the time the virus had hit, shopping malls were beginning to fade out. Why? Nathan placed his bedroll a few feet away from his father's near the windows. Online shopping, home delivery, drones, 124 added. Online shopping, drones? Nathan was now even more confused. You forget? 124, Nathan was born long after the last home computers, laptops, tablets, and smartphones. The internet went silent at least 60 years ago. I did not forget. I just did not know that he had not been taught these facts. 124 responded. It is not my fault there are gaps in his education, Miller. I just never thought pre-virus consumer shopping trends were important for him to know, Miller answered. He needed to know how to make and repair his own things, not shop on his sofa at home using a smartphone, which he doesn't have and which, even if he did, would have no internet connection. You and I know these things, 124 pointed out. Well, you were made when those things existed. I was taught about it because the scientists who engineered me wanted me to bring back that world. It seems you have failed in your mission, 124 replied. I am more than aware of that. Miller was in no mood to rehash his failed mission, and losing his entire Reclaimsmen group just a few days after emerging from Shelter 1. Be sure to continue to Chapter 10, The Hordes.
To support the author, please like, share, comment, and subscribe.